Shalom, shalom, family. I'm so delighted that we have come together again. We have did it again. So we'll come together because most of you, I think, will look at this title and you must, if you come, you must be hungry. It's a all you can eat. That's what it is. All you can eat. You can just get full on tonight. You can get full. We'll see those that, let me, okay, all right. Let's say Christina's in the house, and we are just honoring the Father and giving him all the praise, the honor, and the glory. When you're thinking about this, we at a table that is never ending, ever ending table that we can begin to eat at, right? So we're gonna do a little metaphor about the food, the bread, and most of all, you know that we was always a people. Our forefathers, of course, is always a people as well that really, really associated everything, say with bread, with food, right? You know, it was something that is just in our culture, right? Always from day one, even in the garden, we're thinking about don't eat from the what? That's right, from the tree. And even there, it is a strong relationship, you know. And so most times I think about that, which is really greater? Is it, if we would say, the spiritual, or is it the physical, right? And many times, a lot of times, it is very, very separated. But when we look at our scripture, we see that we be taught through the very things of bread, right? That we can, because it's something that we use, we go to every single day, right? Those things that we go to every day. All right. Got Sister Gwen in the house. All right. Something that we go through every day. So I am so grateful for that. All right. Shalom, family. So grateful for that, Sarah. So grateful for those things. And so when we come together, we realize that, I had to look at that. You know, it was a time in my life, you really trying to, the physical and, the secular and all that. But we have come to realize, somebody already knew it, but we come to realize that it's very, very difficult. It's sort of like, wet and water. When you try to separate that thing, it's very, very difficult to do. There are times that we break it down, times that we break it down. So again, so delighted those that you are alive and maybe looking at this even in the future, and go ahead and look at it 2 more times if you want to. All of those things just to meditate, just in case we always miss something. When you go back again to something, it's always good to do that. Just think about the food, the bread that we eat. It's just not, we just don't drink water once. We just keep going back, don't we? We just don't eat food once. I wonder how many tons of food. Maybe that's something that should have looked up. Tons of food that you eat in a particular lifetime, what we think what a lifetime is, 50, 60 years. And, how much, just pounds of food, how many gallons of water. Of course, if you using those metric system in America, but wherever you may be at, I wonder how much that we really consumed, right? But it's not, we consume and then we eliminate that too, don't we? So all of those things that we do, right? It's just the food comes, give us what we need, and then it's a cycle that's even in our body. So one thing about when we think about our scriptures and when we think about how the Father begins to teach us, we have to remember that we have to start teaching the children. And that's one place that I always go to. So the children have to understand. Now, what is one of the things that I think we struggle with, some of us anyway, when we coming up is getting them to eat their food, right? Whatever that food may be. Food is introduced from day one, from the breast of the milk. It's from day one. You need nourishment from day one. And so our scriptures is in the same thing. What's around you can teach you. Now you can write that down. What's around you can teach you is very, very important because that's how our scriptures do us. So there are many metaphors in that. And no matter what you did, I think, again, bread is even still used today. If you think about the Near Middle Eastern type situation or where you may be, but we are always introduced. We always know about food. And so it's a training ground. You know what you do. You get the food, you buy the food, you grow the food, you have to cook it, you have to put it in your mouth, it has to be eatable, you have to chew it. And then you have to swallow it, and then that has to go into a process, right? It's a process that needs to be done. You do that daily, unless you fast a couple of days or so, right? So you do it daily, though. It's something that we can relate to, and we realize what gives us energy, right? Energy. So an appetite, when we think about our appetite, is telling us, is giving us signals about something that's going on. And so it's nourishment to our bodies. It's nourishment. We need food. And so how much more do we need the same food and nourishment? We feed on that, right? We feed on that. Food provides something for us that is necessary for what? For growth. It's necessary for growth. It's necessary for what? Health and growth, right? And that's what we do. We want to feed. If you don't eat right and do the right things, then you won't have that health. You won't have that to grow. And so we can easily eat a lot of stuff and grow different ways, but we want to be a healthy growth in that, and it can keep us. And so we know that we have to do it for a lifetime. Nobody willingly, all things being normal, just say, well, I'm not going to eat anymore, right? You're going to eat until you have your last breath. And so we're going to kind of vacillate back and forth. And if you would ride with me, and sometimes I hope I will say what area I'm in already. And if I don't, then I'm going to let you be a wise steward of your word and separate that, right? And meaning this, we'll go back and forth, natural food, and then food that we get, right? They had even got what they call manna, right? And so the Father fed them that. It was something that it was already there. But even from the garden, you could eat of every tree, right? But don't touch the one tree, right? And so it's always been associated with food. Even our feast is food, right? Before, when our temple was standing, it was food going through there, right? Some type of food, some type of thing going on. It was that's what we always did. We always of a festival people, always. And so, but it is necessary, because when we read our scriptures, or whether it be translations or whatever you may have, then we'll find out that it is being used all the time. It's being used all the time. And so when we think about feeding those things that are, I'm going to use spiritual, those things that are spiritual, right? And so the natural comes with that. I was reading this and I was going over, and I see the connection sometimes of the natural, right? And then the spiritual as well, right? I see all of that. And so I want to be able to have a good diet of the things of the Father, right? And so even in our natural body, we have senses that tells us, look, you're hungry, you need to eat. Go ahead and get you something to eat, right? Because it is very, very vital. Just think, if you didn't take those we call them hunger pains sometimes, according to where it's at, right? But just think that if you didn't have that, you wouldn't know when to eat. You just keep going, right? But they work together because it is the fuel that we need for our bodies. And then you can listen, if you don't eat and don't operate right, your stomach begins to feel empty. How many been there, right? Your stomach begin to feel empty. Your muscles can get weak, right? They can get weak and all those things. Sometimes you just even feel just sleepy, right? Feel sleepy. Why? Because we're not getting enough food. If you don't get enough food, headaches can arise. All of those things can arise because you need the proper nourishment. And those things affect us, even of what we're going on. The lack of sleep, it can affect you, right? And so all of those things, and it's important that we have food in there, and it can burn for that energy, right? And all of those things. So we don't want to be depraved from that which we need, and we need food. You need water, right? We know that. Those are the things that we need. If nothing else, that's what you need. Of course, and this particular thing, we're talking about all that you can eat, and you can do that. All that you can eat of the word, you can do that. It is done. Many times, even now, sometimes have you ever had your stomach growling, and so it's letting us know that something's going on. It's feeling empty, right? It's feeling empty. So we want to make sure that we have a significant amount of food each and every day, whatever that is. Many times it's out there 3 times a day, no 3 times a day. Well, the thing is to eat when you get hungry, because your body going to tell you when you get hungry, in that. And so we are at a place, though, that when it comes to our scriptures, when it comes to a relationship in that, is that we can eat, right? We can make sure that we can eat all you can eat. So, in that. And so when it comes to the word, all that you can eat, you can do it. All that you can eat. I had right there. I just had a thought process of, we have in today's time, and maybe I don't know, they call them like buffets or whatever. You can go and get what you desire in that. But that's not the best analogy of what I want to talk about tonight is, listen, the only thing, in other words, on a buffet, they put it out and then you kind of pick what you want. When it comes to the things of the Father, you're just not picking what you want. But it's the food that you need, though, right? It's the food that you need. And when I say that, when we're talking about, say, the commandments of Yah, let me pull up let me see, let me get a scripture here, maybe, and we can look at it real quick here. Deuteronomy chapter 8, right, is what we want. And you shall remember that Yahweh your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness. What did he do that for? To humble you. That's what he said, right? To humble you. That's when, when they came out. When we came out, our forefathers came out, they said to humble you, to prove you, to know what is in your heart. So that's what we need. We need to be humble, right? We need to be humble before the Most High, whether you guard his commandments or not. And that's where I was going. In other words, it's not a buffet, because when it comes to the commandments of Yah, right, they are there. That's what we start eating on, all that you can eat, right? So it's not the buffet. If I don't want his commandments, right, I don't need them. If I don't want them, then I throw them away. If I don't want them, then I do away with them. It's not that. We're going to eat true bread. The true bread is his commandments, right? Now, you have a choice on what you're going to eat. We have a choice today, and sometimes even I talk about me, my choice is not always the best on that, right? But those are consequences for that. So don't never treat the Father's word as a buffet, but you can eat all that you can, right? And because it is there. So we have it's just from Genesis to Revelation, right? He said, and he humbled you and let you suffer hunger. Now there's a connection there. He let you suffer hunger. See, again, that in our bodies, we have to know what hunger is about, because sometimes then you'll be, when you satisfy that hunger, right, you feel better, because all of those things that I was saying earlier, you may get headache, you may get tired, you may get weak. But those things, we need to understand that our body would be telling us that, right? Our body is going to tell it. And he said he feeds you a manna. And I was saying that earlier, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, right? So he fed us. But you have to come to that point of hunger. Now, I'm going to take this same thing, and this is what I'm saying with his word. You have to come to a point where you are hungry, right? Some people are not hungry. They just satisfied with what they got. But we want to be in a place, and once we get into this, we can eat all that we can eat, and you can just keep going if you want to, right? He said that, right? And in that, okay. Oh man, I lost my space. I didn't have read. Do not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone. So when we run in this, we understand that man does not live by bread alone. So it is there. So it's tied in. Let me go back up to 3. He said he let us suffer the hunger, because there's a connection there. You know, we're talking about spiritual and physical. If you can separate that, some people have that mindset. But let me show you something here. And he fed them, right? So it's something that we could understand. If you ever, some of us say we hungry, but if you ever really experience hunger, you would understand that. And he tagged it in there. So once you're hungry, then you realize, you say, okay, man does not live on bread alone, but by every word, every commandment that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. Every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh is what we live on. Every word, it's a relation here that we draw into food or to bread, right? When I'm saying bread, it could be, the food as well. Okay. So the bread, that's every place, every hunger. We're going to be there. Why? Because we want to know that when we are filled, right? When you are filled, so you get hungry, you begin to eat. So we have to hunger, right? And we have scriptures on this, and maybe we'll go, I'll pull those up as well, a couple of scriptures on that. But when we are hungry, when we are filled, when we are hungry, so again, we have all the relationship, because most of us have been hungry at one time. You may not be able to get to the food that you realize in that. And so it's not just food alone. So what I'm saying is that yet they go together, because sometimes if you are not keeping the commandments of Yah, we understand that we won't get rain like we should. Right? If we are disobedient, we won't get the things that we need for food. And it's gonna affect us. Right? One of the things of being obedient is the blessing. Right? Those blessings come when you're obedient. The rain, the food, all of those things. You need those things to be strong, right? In the physical, right? And they'll bring about, because if you're not strong in the physical. Now pay attention to this, a power up moment. If you're not strong in the physical, then you're gonna be weak in the spiritual, right? This is my thought process here. Now stay with me. Don't lose me. You say, oh, I'm strong. I'm strong in the. If somebody heard somebody, I'm strong in the spirit. But if you weak, right? You cannot be effective, because when you're walking out the commandments, you're doing something. Right? You're doing something. If you have a harvest and you're going to harvest something, or you're going to plant seed, that takes energy, right? That takes it. And then if you're not, if you don't have enough strength to do that, you become weak. So you're going to suffer some things. And so food and water was always, when we read our scriptures, you've been there. When you read your scriptures, you realize they're it's very important to us. Right, in that. So we live by every word, not some of the word, but all the word, in order to feed on this. So when you are strong, then you can be able to say, do what you need to do to follow out the word. You understand? Now, if you could just be weak or whatever, and you cannot follow through, because we know that when we read our scriptures, there's things that you have to do that you need strength in. Even if it's going to battle, you still need strength, no matter what you are doing. So you see that they go together. And I'm telling you, when you have had a good meal and everything's feeling good, and you can get into the word, even just studying, we'll say just studying, right? Because after we study, we do an action move, right? The action move is that we obey, right? We obey. So once you study, you obey. In Isaiah 55, it talks about, and everyone who thirsts, come to the water. If you are thirsty, then you come to the water. And so we thirst and hunger for the things of the Father, don't we? So what we have to do is just come to the water. If you don't have the strength to come to the water, how you going to get there? If you have to go a mile to the well, but you don't have no food to eat, you can't get there. How you going to enough strength to get there? So they go together. Once you get there and you can be refreshed by the thirst of the water, it'll be okay, right? And so we want to remember that now is it can affect you. The hunger and all those things can affect you. When you're hungry, it is difficult to do things. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah. Could you think so? You think you can read and meditate and pray when you just hungry like that? Now when we are fasting, it lets us know that's the reason we have to do it, right? Because it let us know if you have fasted, it's a connection. It's a connection there. And he said in here, and let me see where I was at. And you who have no silver, come and buy and eat, and come and buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver? For it is not bread, and your labor for what does not satisfy. Listen to me and eat what is good. So we have to eat when we switch into spiritual again. We have to eat what is good, right? And let that be being a delight in itself and fatness, right? Incline your ear, right? And come to me. That's good food right there. If we listen, we want some good food, and we know in our scriptures yes, it's good food. And let it be a delight. Incline your ears. I said that, and come to me and hear, so that your being lives. So going to him, you will be satisfied, right? And let me make an everlasting covenant unto you, the trustworthy kindness of Dawid. That's what we're talking to, right? So listen, it is very, very important. We want that which is good, and that's good food. And if we hear and if we listen, and we want to eat, there you go again. It is a metaphor of eating. So it is a process. So when you eating of the word, it's a process. You processing that, because if you don't eat of the word, those things will be getting, as we would say, weak, right? As a metaphor in that, weak in that, and those things, right? Okay, all right. We're gonna move right along. In Matthew, let me see here, Matthew chapter 4 and verse 4, I think is what 30. I don't know if I want 4. Well, yes, let's do 4. And he answered and said, it has been written, man should not live by what? By bread alone. So I just can't eat by bread. I just can't live, by bread alone, right? But by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. Did you see that? Right here. That comes from the mouth of Yah. So we it's not just bread alone. And there's a relationship there, but we must eat, right? Because if you don't eat, guess what'll happen to you? Okay. If you don't drink, what'll happen? Right. So you won't be here in order to do anything with you, right? So there's a weakness there, but they go together again, is what I'm trying to say. I'll draw this line on tonight is the fact that they go together. Every word that comes out, not some of the word, not what I think. That's when I say it's not a buffet, right? It's every word that comes from the mouth. That's when the test was going on, right? He came to the Mashiach in this. HaMashiach, he came to him and he said, but man shall live. That's where he got this from, right? And where did he get it from, right? Deuteronomy, that's right, 8, where we was at. He walked out Torah. He was the walking, talking Torah. That's where he got it from. He just didn't come up with this. He had to come up with what the Father said, and what the Father said, what the Father tell us. Every word that comes out of the mouth of Yahweh, that's what he said. And so we follow the Hamashiach. So if we follow him, then that's the same thing we do. Every word that comes out of the mouth of Yah. So those are his commandments, right? And so this is what he stood. He came with what it been written. That's what he came with. He said, what is written? Y'all know the story. We won't go over this, I don't think, but he said, this is the story, right? And the same thing, you're talking about the bread. If you were the son, I'm going to verse 3, the latter here, of Elohim, command these stones to be what? To become bread. It was familiar, right? The hunger, right? It's familiar. It's a connection. Do you see the connection? And you get time, you go back and you read this and realize that the natural, I want you to bring the spiritual and the physical closer to what I have experienced sometimes and what people talking and discussing and what they reading and maybe teaching, right? Bring it together and just think about this. Right? Because when the hunger comes, that's where it comes. You have to be able, when you are established and you say if you're fasting or you are hungered, here you realize that what keeps you going is the word of Yah. That's what keeps you going. And so in that he answered him We can't. It's not. So it's in this context here. Live by bread, but every word. So I ain't changing no stone. You ain't gonna cause me to do that, right? I'm not gonna go against the word of Yahweh. He never did it. Never did it. And so since we are servants of the Most High, and so He is the chief shepherd, right? That's what we follow. We follow Him and the things that He has done, right? We want to do that. Matthew chapter 5, we familiar with it, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for what? Righteousness. So when we are teaching our little ones, it's easy. You understand? There's no big degrees. There's no doctor in front of the name. There's no professors in front of the name. There's none of those things. Those things are good, right? But here, when you have to teach someone and even teach us, it's a connection with the physical, right? The Father always have a connection with the physical in that. It's just not the spiritual, oh, by and by, just floating around in this. It says, he that hunger and thirst. Now, you would understand that right away if you lived any time. Don't feed a baby and see what happens, right? And so thirst after righteousness, it says they shall be what? They should be filled, right? So anytime you hunger and thirst, you're gonna be filled with those things. But you have to hunger and thirst after that, right? You have to listen to that. Your appetite has to be the things of the Father. Your desire has to be the things of the Father. That's what it has to be. It has to be that, right? Let me see if I got another one here. John 4:32. And he said to them, I have food to eat of which you do not know. Yeah, this is good. Read all of these. We just in the lack of time, but make sure you go back and read these things. It said, I have food that which you do not know of. Then he taught one. Then the taught one said to each other, did anyone bring him food to eat? Right? And this is powerful here because they realize that this is a connection, right? This is the food, connection was always food, breaking of bread. There's always been a connection to the bread, right? Always been that. Even bread was used as utensils. You would take your bread and then you would scoop it. Some of us here in the Western world, we had those forks and knives and all that, but they took it and they scooped it. Bread was a part of life. Right? Women knew how to cook bread. Men knew how to cook. I mean, it was, you would do a lot for bread, And you know what? All that you can eat. If I was continue this, everything, now just think back. Everything that you had, what's the time? Everything that you had, if we think back in our scriptures, it was always food. Go and get food. Go, good fellowship. Abraham, he good fellowship. He taught us good fellowship. It's good fellowship, food around that, right? Because you must be strengthened. If you go on a long journey, you remember in Luke, I think it was, around the, I don't know, 11th chapter, I think I might have that down. But it was 3 loaves of bread, if you're familiar with that. That was like a meal. When you would take a journey, maybe you'll take about 3 loaves with you, right? There was always something there. It was always bread tied to it, and you knew once we eat how we feel. Doesn't it feel good? It feels real good, in that. And Yeshua said to them, my food is to do the desire. If it was his food to do the desire, guess what? It should be our food to do the desire of him that sent me and to accomplish his work, right? To accomplish his work. When it became his work, whatever Yahweh said, I will do. He said, I had a desire, right? And so that is my food. So if that carries me and pushes me and tell me to go, then that's what I would do. That's the energy that I need, right? To do the will. Other words, if I get exhausted doing the will of the Father, then that's what I do. Right, I can go. Now, we even in our natural bodies, right, is you can store up, especially if you got, a couple of pounds on you, you can get away because your body will automatically go to that stored fat that you have and burn it for what? Yes, burn it for energy, right? in that. And that's reason sometimes it store it when you got too much of it, it just go to storing it, right? Because it thinks that you might need it a little later, right? And that's the same thing when we walk in those things and know and feel in our heart. We was reading earlier in Matthew there that he knew he had the word. So when the adversary came to him, he knew what to say. He knew what to say. He knew what to say in that. So that's the same thing. He said to desire and to accomplish his work, right? Okay, and let's go on over to Matthew that I said that one, right? Let's go to 6. Let me see it. I think is so they said to him, Master, give us this bread always, right? We're going back to again. There you go. I keep moving that. He going back to again of bread. Get it always. What is we need it always, right? In that you need it. Give us this bread. I want some of this. That's good bread. So the word of Yah is good bread to us. That's good food. And you said to them, I am the bread of life. So he getting ready to do a teaching situation right here. He said, I'm the bread of life. Why? Because he did everything that the Father had told him to do. He who comes to me shall not hunger at all. Right? Why? Because you being filled every time. You you being filled every time. He was the living word. So you being filled every time. And he's in he who now this is a key here. You have to believe in me shall not get thirsty at all. Why? Because you continue to be filled. Now this this will take some more, so I'm hitting it here. That's the reason. It's not like you'll never, because then that'll just go against what we said. He just said, if you hunger and thirst after righteousness, you should be filled. This is how you be filled, right? When you hunger, right, then you be filled. Right. If you're not going after the things of the Hamashiach, then you still hungry. Right. You're thirsty. You would never be satisfied. And then it is a good thing because we don't want to be satisfied until we discover the things of Yeshua. Right. We'll never be satisfied in that. And I'm glad, you'll get a snack, but you'll never be filled. You'll continue. You always will be hungry, that desire. Right. And then once you come to the bread of life, you realize this is different. This is different. He told him, even the father told him, look, gather this each day and eat it. It'll be enough. No matter what your portion is, listen, the Hamashiach is enough. That's your portion. He's a bread of life. So this is what he was doing when he was teaching, right? He was teaching. He was using this as a metaphor on that, right? But I say unto you, see that, wait a minute. But I say to you that you have seen me and still do not believe, right? Because of this here, all of this, I don't want to, all of this goes together, okay? All of this still goes together, right? Give you the bread always. This is the bread of life. But here's something that I want to just bring out, and then we'll move on. He who believes. That is important. It's a lot that don't believe. Okay, right? And then he went on to stay and still, right here, do not believe. All that the Father gives me shall come to me. So that's a qualifier right there. All that the Father, So the Father has to be the one to open our eyes, right? And the one who comes to me, I shall in no means cast them out. Won't do it. Won't do it, right? Because he's the bread, right? He's the bread. He said, because I have come down out of heaven, not to do my, right here. Now, this is who we following, the Mashiach, not to do my own desires, right? This is a place where this is all you can eat. This is an all you can eat moment right here. Not to do my own, but the desires of him who what? Who sent me. Okay. All right. That's where we at. That's where we at. So he's telling them, he said, he's telling them, you're going to have to believe, and then you're going to have to do his. This is the desire of the Father who sent me, that all he has given me, I should not lose of it, but shall raise it in the last days. Right? He's going to do it. All right, all right. He's going to do it. Now keep reading that. Go ahead and write those scriptures down, and you'll be able to go back and feast on that. All because this is all you can eat, right? This is all you can eat. Proverbs in this. Let me see why I put. Oh, Proverbs 31:27, and she watches over the ways of her house. And this is what I like. It's what you eaten of, right? And does not eat the bread of idleness, right? Don't eat whatever you eating is what you're gonna be right here. There's some bread. So those are metaphors. Again, is most of the time we are in a place of what are you eating of though, right? What are you eating of? That's very important, and we want to eat of the things of the Father. We want to be there. Proverbs chapter 4 and 17, for they have eaten the bread of wrongdoing. A metaphor again. You eating the bread of wrongdoing. If you eat, how I know you eating that? Because I know what you're eating. Because you're doing violence, the wrongdoing. You're drinking that wine, the wrong wine of violence, right? And so again, we all have tied in. So it's the same thing. That's when we have the metaphor of trees. That's when all of those things are there. You don't need no deep situation here. Bread is bread. Bread is still bread today. It may look different. You may cook it different, but it's still bread. And we still know everyone that come on this planet is gonna have to eat something, right? You're gonna have to eat. So you're gonna always know the word. So how can I know the word? You can know the word. It says eating. You say, well, okay. Did I need to know what? Maybe I need to know the Hebrew. What's the etymology of this word? What the eating, eat. It's simple. Eat the bread of wrongdoing. Don't do it. Then you say, well, what is wrongdoing, right? Whatever's not right doing. Now, no, the things of the Father, right? The things with you keep His command. What? But the path of righteousness. It said, what's the wrong? But there's a path. So, other words, the wrongdoing. The wrongdoing, but the path of righteousness is like the light of dawn, right? And it's bright every day. It's bright every day. So what are you eating of? What are we eating of is what makes us. You understand? And so sometimes in our bodies, all that our body knows, the body is, oh man, what wonderfully made, right? So we have to incline. He said, my son, 20 here, listen to my words and incline your ears to my singing. You have to do it. We have to be a people of listening. I'm trying to get us almost 40 here. I want to get okay, Isaiah, right? Chapter 30 and verse 20. Though Yahweh gave you the bread of adversity and water of affliction, your teachers, now this is important here, your teachers, right, shall no longer be hidden. So the Most High, listen, when we are not doing the things that we should do, and in this, if I pull from this, is you will not know who your teacher is or who your teachers are. And it came to a point where he was saying, but your eyes shall see your teacher. So you have to open up. And most times you won't accept teachers because your eyes have not been open. Your teacher is hidden to you. Now, blessed of those that have the communities and tying those things, and maybe you can't. You may be in the area where you can't get together in assembly, but you still should have a teacher, right? Because what bread are you eating of if you don't have it? So anytime the Father open up your eyes, He has to use a teacher to do so. You can't jump over that because it is a gift. Hamashiach gave us a gift, right? Of those particular ministries that we need. And the reason that you say you don't really see it, says your teacher, it says they was hidden, right? So it is our heart and our desire that we would find our teachers because you need it, right? You need those things. And this is why we're going through it today, right? It's because many times your teacher is hidden from you. And so those of you that might be listening or will listen, it is very important because you're going to find out when I was teaching earlier, when I was saying the scripture earlier, it was saying at a cost, it's going to cost you something in that. And so you have to have ears to hear the word behind you, right? You have to have that. And then he was saying, and I'm kind of skipping this, you can read it. This is the way, walk in it. What's the way, right? And this is the way right here. When you got some teachers, this is the way. You see that? Walk in it. Whatever you turn to the right or whatever you turn to the left, you have to walk in this, right? So it's very, very important in that. So you should have a desire. Listen, you don't never reject the gift that the Father is giving unto us. We need that. Wouldn't it be something that the children would just, disregard their parents? They're your teachers. You need that, right? And when you have something against, sometimes we need to, that's a whole nother thing. But sometimes when you have bitterness and stuff against your parents, you need to find out what's going on. Some of this might be going on right here. What are you eating of, right? Why do you? Because they're your teachers, right? Well, so what are you eating of? We need teachers, And so when it comes to the things of, I'm gonna say spiritual things, then you make sure that you understand, And so most times that's my question to people: well, who your teacher is. And then you be amazed how many answers you get on that. But what bread are you eating of? What bread have you eaten of, right? And so who gave it to him? Oh, yes. Who gave it to him? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But he also, right, he hides some things from you. That's what we don't get. That's when we can't get understanding, right? Because we don't want to teach. You need the teachers. And once they hide those teachers from you, is that you're going to have to search, And so all of these things come up, y'all don't know what and just talking about leadership in general. Oh, you don't know what they do. He said, walk in it. Walk in it. That's what they want to walk in, right? This is good bread. We want, because this is how you need to be. Listen to this. Let's go Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah 3:15. He said, I should give you shepherds according to my heart, right? Yah's going to give you shepherds. He's going to give you shepherds according to his heart, and they shall feed. All right, here we go. We got feed, food. How am I going to get this food? Through the shepherds, right? Somebody have to teach you, Somebody have to be in that. But from day one, you're being taught by someone. And knowledge and understanding. So when they feed you, this is what they feed you. This is what they should be feeding you. That's what a shepherd should be feeding you, right? A shepherd's staff. They should be feeding you knowledge and understanding, right? And all of it goes together. You can't separate it. In other words, you can't separate the ruach and the teacher. They go together. I started off by saying water and wet, right? They go together, right? You can't get this in the living room. If you do, you may want to check that out because you may be eating the wrong bread. Right? You may be. I'm saying if you have something in your heart against the teachers or against overseers or against, if you have something in there, you don't need them anymore. There's a problem there. This has always been the heart of the Father. So he just don't get what's the best thing. And then Hamashiach came and did the same thing. So how did you gonna? You have to. This is how you increase. Right? You be increased, right? And I'm just pulling that out of there. That's not what that's it. Just remember that, right? Okay, all right. I'm talking about good food because you need to know where you're getting your food from. You need to know that. Oh, okay. I was trying to. All right. Let's go. Let's see. We got here Deuteronomy. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 11 and 13. And it shall be that if you diligently obey my commandment, which I command you today, to love Yahweh your Elohim and to serve him with all your heart and with all your being. This is what we do, right? That now I'm talking about being satisfied, right? We want to be that. Then I should give you. And I started out, he said, then I should give you. I started out earlier. If you somehow pick this up, and if you didn't go back, or I will reiterate here, the rain. He said, I give you rain. So obedience is tied to that, right? So again, your food, your what you got in the land in the season, the early rain and the latter rain you shall gather in your grain, right? Because they go together. You need that because in order to keep some of the commandments of Yah, he put in there that this is what you need to bring. All right. So he's going to supply what you need to bring in order to bring it. That's the reason. That's the way that the Most High has always been, right? And the new wines and in your oil, and you shall and I shall give grass in the fields for your livestock, right? He's working all together here, and you shall eat. Now this is important here. You shall eat and be satisfied. There's a point in us that what we have to be eat. We have to eat and be satisfied. If we went back up, what we should do? Keep His commandments, diligently, not just This is good eating right here, right? Obey the commandments of Yah. You can't get by that. Guard yourselves, right? Least your heart be what? Yeah, deceived, right? So this is what we need to do. This is what will bring the food and stuff. When we was a horticulture people one time, you couldn't just go down to that. Well, somebody put the food in the store anyway. And the system that we are in now, and turn aside and serve other mighty ones and bow down to them. That's something that we can't do, right? That's something that we can't do. You'll be hunger and you'll be thirst and you won't be filled because you don't have the bread. Right? You need the true and living bread. The bread, if you allow me to say, the bread for your soul, right? That's what you need. The bread for your soul. You need that. And I think I was saying in Luke, well, I didn't say this, or did I? Luke 14, and when one of those, when one of those who sat at the table with him heard this, he said to him, blessed is he who eats bread. There you go. We're going to have some bread again in the reign of Elohim, right? So I guess I wanted to bring out here eats bread. So there's a connection with eating bread in the kingdom, us serving him, him feeding us, and then there's even a portion where you said that you remember Shaul or Paul said one of these things that you on milk and you should be on meat, and so we would know what those things are. Listen, one of the things I want to encourage you with, I want to maybe go ahead and one of the things I want to encourage you with is I know that I'm in assembly. I say it oftentimes, and I'm so grateful, for the assembly and us being together as a as a tribe in a community, and it's an awesome thing. And one of the things that I guess I say often is we know that whatever we eat from is what you're going to become. The more you eat of things, that's whatever you eat of, that's what you're gonna do. If you eating on some love, you can't help but love because that's just part of you. That's a part of you, and so that's the same thing. It just becomes a part of you. It just becomes a lifestyle, right? We want to change that lifestyle. I just want it to become a lifestyle for us, and so the more that we eat, the more that we know. Right? The more that we eat, the more that we know, and it becomes a part of you. So the food and all of that, even in the natural body, what you don't need just comes out because it is something that you don't need no more, right? But just think about it. When it comes to the word of Yah, just like that manna, what is it, right? When it comes to his word, right? Every little bit just soaks up. You need every every nutrients out. You need everything out of that, right? It just everything that listen when you keeping the commandments of Yah, when you doing those things, and when the rain comes, and you be many times we'll say it after we are eat, we say, are we full and are we satisfied? And what a awesome praise unto the Most High, knowing that we don't take it for granted, right? We don't take that for granted. Because we know when we are full and satisfied, we have the energy to walk out the things of the Father. We have the energy to do that in that. So we just honoring him and giving him all the praise. And I am going to, there was so much when I was reading this. It just was awesome. But I want you to know that you can eat as well. Now, many times I have my brother, as you know, and those of you that might have looked at other videos that are present on YouTube, on the YouTube channel as well. He is with us. And Sid, he may be on the road. So I get Sid to maybe call in and check in with us. and kind of miss him. He's in the process of doing things again at night or on Wednesdays and all of that. But Sid, if you are listening, I see you pop on there 100, and if y'all are in a place to where you could, I don't know. I know you told me y'all should be on the road. I think they called in once before. Call on the assembly phone in that, and that way you could get through in that. So I just was gonna have them have a shout out, and maybe those that are with you in that as well. I do miss it because we always sometimes we kind of feed off of. It's always good when you have somebody that is with you and you can kind of, making sure that things are clear and all of those things. But I think that all that you can eat, you can do it. And I know we have a time delay, and so I'm trying to give him a minute to maybe if he have an opportunity to call, are they in a spot that they can call where the phone maybe won't, drop. Sometimes you can be in areas that you don't have the reception as well. But I just honoring the Father, just thanking Him because that's good eating. Anytime you realize that, that's good eating, and it was something that okay, we have a all right. I think I may have them. All right, I'm gonna accept that. Okay, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom,
All,
brother. How are
all
you?
right, all right. How you doing, my brother?
I am awake.
But you got one eye going on.
Just one eye. Actually, I just rejoined the world of the living not too long ago. So when you saw me on there with that 100, that's when I actually put feet on the ground.
Oh,
Ready
okay.
to go.
Okay, all right, all right. Okay.
Yes,
You had a
sir.
chance to listen in?
Just here at the end, right here. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
at the end. Okay, okay. You'll get a chance. I understand a little bit later, but it's good to hear your voice in that, and I know maybe somewhere in the future you'll be joining us again in that, huh?
Y'all will.
Yeah, yeah. I know your son told me. He said, why don't y'all get together on first day? I said,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. And I told him, I said, well, first of all, you definitely would need the rest, and I think we have because we could do it anytime, but I think we had the heart of kind of
yes,
like
sir.
being live, in that. But I got joy when he said that he want to see his dad too, I guess I
Praise
got
God.
joy when
Yes,
I said,
sir.
yeah.
It's
So.
a staple. It's natural. Praise God.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In that, okay. Well, brother, we just talking about the bread of life and all that you can eat, right? And we know that the word is something that all that we can eat. But we won't rehash that. We're using it as an idiom or metaphor, and so we'll just continue to walk up. Did you want to encourage us with anything before I let you go?
Oh, praise God. And so that, thank you so much. Wow, there's just a lot. This is a lot, and I did catch that the end part you had said there, and I just think the gifts that the Father's given us for our benefit, and the Master does want us to increase. We all have a point of origin, but there comes a time for us to move in and join the tribe. And I just hope that everybody hears what they need to hear so that we can be one assembly on the mountains and not be ashamed when the King returns.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things. When it was, when you buy the truth, you have to buy it from somewhere,
Yes, sir.
right? And so you have to buy that truth from your teachers, right?
Yes, sir.
And as a metaphor now, don't get this mixed up with anything else, right? uh,
Yes,
just
from the
yeah,
proverb.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yes,
a
sir.
proverb in that. So but you have to, I think many times people does not quite, I, the reason that I guess I bring it up, even bring that
Yeah.
up, and it's a heart of my desire is because I know the benefit. you are missing something.
Amen.
You're missing something. You can only carry yourself so far, but eventually you're gonna have to do it. So it's sort of like today. If I bring it up today's 2023, if I bring it up today, and if you're not growing your food, you're gonna have to go to the store to buy it. So if you sit in your house and you'll never get it, right? So somehow you have to buy it. So you have to buy it though from a proper place. So the stores are the stores, the grocery stores that we go to, we feel like they have already vetted it out. They kept what frozen that needs to be frozen. They put the right food on the shelves. If something is out of date or spoiled, we are trusting that they have already took it off, right? But I have to buy it though. I have to buy it. And so once I go and get the food according to what it is, then I take that product home and then I bake my bread. But I maybe I just bought the dough and maybe I didn't buy the loaf already done, right? But I bought the ingredients. Then I have to fix it, right? I have to fix it. But we have to realize that we have to know that we have to get our food from somewhere, right? From somewhere. And so even though it's in the stores, the Father is the one that provides the seed. Hallelujah. He
Yes.
provides the seed for all of that. In the if it's meat, then it's the cows and all of that. So he has to do that, right?
Yes, sir. That that's the key. I guess the idea is that it's going to take a trust.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
Because if you plant, you're still going to need the water. So, like you were saying, I definitely believe when the Most High gives us what we need, it it gives freely given, like you were saying, in terms of the truth. And I think if we don't take it for granted, realizing that it was never just up to us to feed ourselves. We didn't come in this world that way. And it's the same process when it comes to things of the Father. We're going to need someone else to provide for us in order for us to increase to the point to like what you're saying, to where now we can provide, feed ourselves. And that same good word that the Father gave in the beginning is the same thing we need to be eating in the end.
Right,
And
right.
I just don't know um, how we can sell the truth, but unfortunately it happens.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, it should have been a metaphor. It's something
Yes,
that you
sir.
go get. Just like we
Yes,
saying
sir.
food. We know the words are not food. It's just a metaphor of that because it's like a great price. When Hamashiach gave us those parables, we realized that what they are to us. In that. So something's special to you in that, but we have to make sure that we keep those things in that. All right. So do you have anybody else with you to shout out before we close it up?
Shalom, family.
Shalom, shalom. All right, all right.
Yes.
All right. Well, my brother, y'all keep it safe on the. You make sure you keep one eye open, and then if all of those things, huh? That you may get there safe. And
Bishop.
in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, sir.
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything there, Sarah?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. I guess you probably listened to it at the same time too, huh? Well, no, you
Yes,
came in
sir.
earlier though, didn't you?
A little bit, but then when I got there, yes, sir, I had to go back and catch the replay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, okay. That's all right. The replay is always good, I guess. Huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right.
Just
Yeah.
did over refrigerator.
All right. Well, we're gonna eat some good. Make sure you continue to eat good food, and knowing that,
Bishop.
yeah, hallelujah, knowing that the bread of life is there, in that.
Yes.
So when you're thirsty, just go ahead and get you a drink. It's always good. All right. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Y'all have a outstanding night, and we'll look forward to seeing you real soon. All right.
Bishop.
All right. Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right. All right, family. We're gonna get ready to close it out. All of you that's in the room, or may not be in the room, but are listening. Maybe may the Father continue to strengthen you on this week, and go ahead and get you some good nourishment. Right? Go ahead, and I know you got a good appetite. Let your appetite be that appetite of the word, right? And then to do. He gives you strength to do his commandments, to walk those things out. All right, family, we're going to just say shalom to all of you, and shalom.